Hey dolls and friends, welcome back and thanks so much for spending part of your day with me. If you're new here, my name is Amber Michon and I do weekly farmhouse inspired DIYs using majority of Dollar Tree products or other affordable items. But if you're not new, hey doll, hey. So in today's video, I have another round of Christmas DIYs for you, but some of them can easily be transitioned into winter decor. So I really hope you guys do enjoy this video. I'm starting to wind down on the Christmas DIYs. We're in December now, but I just had to get one more in. So I'll have another like winter Christmas DIY video coming next week, but that will definitely be my last one. And then I'm going to do some gift ideas for you guys for all of our last minute shoppers, because I am one of those. So make sure you guys come back, have your notification bell on so you don't miss an upload. With that being said, if you're new, love what you see, but also love all things home decor DIY on a budget, I would also love if you would consider subscribing and hitting the bell right next to it so you're notified every time that I upload. Alright dolls, let's go ahead and jump right in. For my first DIY, I'm making this nativity scene, and this is super easy. So from Dollar General, I picked up this DIY nativity scene for $3. I just took it out. It was all already apart, but what I had to do was sand it down because it had some little flyaway pieces on it. So just sand it down so it can look a little bit better. And then all I did was use my ink chalk paint from Waverly and gave this one good coat. I didn't need to give two, I just gave one coat. And that's pretty much it for that, really. For my star at the top, I did decide to go ahead and paint that white. So I used my Waverly chalk paint in white. I think I gave that one two coat because I wanted it to be a bright white color. After that was done, it was time for me to assemble it. It was actually a little bit more difficult to assemble than it looks. So the slates on the bottom makes it look like you could just slide it all the way in, but that's not the case. It's really difficult to do. So I just used my hot glue gun to hot glue it down into place. And then I actually put some tumbling tower pieces on the back of the larger scene to get it to stay standing up because it wasn't in the holes at all. The smaller pieces, I was able to kind of shimmy those in there. Again, though, as you can see, it's a little bit difficult for me, but this is pretty much it. You just set this up however you want, however you like, and that's pretty much all I did was shimmy them through. And if I couldn't get them through, then I just hot glued them directly on top, and that's it for this one. Really love this. I think it's super cute, and I actually really love the black look to it, but then the brown part, like pieces on top, it gives it a really nice like silhouette effect. I really love how this turned out. Christmas lights are all around. I can see them now. For the next DIY, I'm making these tag ornaments, and these were really fun to make. From the Dollar Tree, I have these large tag signs that say Holly and Jolly and Merry Christmas. And then I have these words, these package decor words that I got from Hobby Lobby. They were 50% off, so they were just $2. And you get 4 words that come in them. But two of them say the same thing. So the first thing I did is just remove the greenery on top of the tag and broke that apart as best as I could to keep the integrity of the tag. It's actually also not just hot glued, but like stapled together. So I had to push out that staple. I didn't realize that until I poked myself. So just be careful if you do take these apart. If you don't want to take them apart, you can keep them together and just paint them. And then for one of the tag signs, I used my Waverly chalk paint in white and gave that 2 coats. And then for the second tag, I am going to use some scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. It's this really pretty black trees and white background. So I just traced that out and then cut the paper out to size. And then I put a generous amount of Mod Podge right on my tag and just smooth that out, and then put my paper on top, smoothed it out, and I'll let it dry for probably about 15 minutes. As my paint and my scrapbook paper are drying on my tags, I took the words, these say peace and rejoice, and I used this Minwax dark walnut stain to paint this or to stain both of the words. I just used a piece of napkin. Once everything was dry and ready to put together, I took my finger sander to sand down the paper edges on my trees tag sign, and then I also sanded down the edges and corners of my white tag sign. I really love that look. It gives it a nice clean weathered farmhouse charm look. I really love it. Once those are done, then I decide which word is going to go on which tag. I put peace on the one with the Christmas trees and rejoice on just the white background. And then I use my super glue gel that you can get from the Dollar Tree and adhere that directly on to the back of the word and then put it onto the sign, and it stuck really well. You guys know I love using super glue gel. It's the business. Once everything is done, then I just fished through some twine that I already had on hand, but the one of them didn't have a hole, so I just used my drill and just put a hole in it and then just wrap some twine in it. And that's it for this. I made 4 of these. The other 2 say Merry and Joy. I really love how these all turned out. Super cute, and are going to look great additions on my tree.
Now we're back here once again. Holidays and cheer. But now I got my eye set on you.
Next up, I'm just going to jazz up these skating shoe ornaments that you can get from the Dollar Tree. So this is how they look. And I really wanted to do something like a different color. So keeping in with the color theme, I'm going to use that dark walnut min wax stain again. And this time I used a foam brush to apply my stain. I did give it a good covering, but I did wipe it down with a paper towel afterwards, just so it wasn't so dark. I really do love this dark walnut color though. I've been trying a ton of different stain colors. This and my honey stain are my top 2 favorites. So after I did both of my skating shoes, I then took some white acrylic paint to paint the bottom of the skate as well as the snowflake in the middle of the skate. Now, I did get some stain on the snowflake a little bit, and because I was using acrylic paint super thin and watery, I actually had to do 3 coats of this color on the bottom of my skate and the snowflake, but no biggie. I just really wanted it to, look really nice. Then I took the back of a chunky brush that I got from, I think I got this from Target's Dollar Spot, and more of that white paint, and just put some paint dots down where the shoelaces are. And once that was done, I did it to the other skate. These are done. So cute. Aren't these just adorable? I really love this stain color and the white together. Next up, we have this really easy tree and ornament garland. So from the Dollar Tree, I have this pack of 8 of a Christmas tree ornaments, as well as this black and white buffalo check garland, ball garland. I got both of these from the Dollar Tree. I stained my trees using that dark walnut color again. I did 6 trees, but I only ended up using 4. After they were dry, I did both sides. I am then going to dry brush some white chalk paint. So I did acrylic paint. I took a chunky brush that I got from Target's Dollar Spot a long time ago. You can use a chippy brush or whatever, and just dry brush the white on the edges of my trees all the way around, just to get a nice dimensional color to it. I really like it. Then I'm going to tie them on to the garland just to add a little bit more flair. So how I did that is I just took the twine that came in the pack with the Christmas trees, fished it through the hole of the tree, then put both of the ends together, twisted it up so I could twist my beads on there. I took a larger bead and then a smaller bead right on top, opened that up, and then tied it on top of the garland and just kind of let it hang like that. And I did that for 4 trees. Like I said, I did paint 6, but I only used 4, so I can use the other 2 doing other things. But yeah, once you have all that, you can put more trees on there if you want. You can put more wooden beads on there if you want, but I wanted to keep this super simple, really pretty, really classy, something that you can kind of hang around your tree if you have a smaller tree, or just kind of, you know, lay around a tier tray. I think it's really, really pretty.
I'll get it done. I'm not going away. And right around the mistletoe. I'm going.
So now it is time for my Hey Doll Hey subscriber shout out, and today it goes to Latricia. She sent me 3 coffees on Buy Me a Coffee, and I cannot thank you enough for that awesome gift, Latricia. I really do appreciate your kindness, love, and support with my YouTube channel. If you might be interested in sending me a coffee or even just sending me some mail, go down to my description box below. There you will find the link to Buy Me a Coffee as well as my P.O. box. Alright dolls, let's get back to the DIYs. Next up, I'm making this advent calendar village, and I really, really love how this turned out. So I got this wooden block countdown houses from Target's Dollar Spot. It's $5. And I'm also going to use this tumbling tower like block pieces and these wood rectangular planks from the Dollar Tree. So this is how I'm going to set this up. So I kind of had to really use my imagination and creativity to figure out how to make this more of an advent calendar. So I lined up 5 to 6 houses on each plank, and then lined up my Jenga pieces in the middle of those houses. So I'm going to use some wood glue from the original super glue. I got this from the Dollar Tree to adhere my Jenga pieces to that wood plank. I am not going to glue down these houses at all. They are simply there to measure out the spacing in between my Jenga pieces. So essentially these holes that the spaces that the Jenga pieces have, is that's where the treats, or in my instance, the candy is going to go for my kids when we do our countdowns. So once I have that in place, that is done. That's how all of them are going to go. So you just kind of have to figure out how many fit on each wood plank. For mine, it was about, I think it was 6, 6, 7, 7. So it was 4 rows of it. Now to bring this all together, I'm going to use some super glue gel and attach all of my rows. So I'm putting them about 3/4 of the way back on each of the rows, using the super glue gel to adhere it on top of those Jenga pieces, putting it in between just so I can get a better, more sturdy hold. Now to get this to stand up, I took another rectangular wood plank. I put some more super glue gel on the edge of the last wood plank, and then adhered my standing wood plank to there. Now, super glue gel, you do have to sit there and hold it for a minute for it to stay. But for me, I just needed, for video purposes, I needed to get this to stay. So what I did is flipped it over and then put some wood glue on some Jenga pieces and placed them on the corners so that they would stay, and then adhere more with a generous amount of hot glue, and also put some feet down with the Jenga pieces onto the bottom using some hot glue. Like I said, this is for video purposes. It stayed a lot quicker, but my super glue gel on the tiers actually are holding up really well. And then I just put another plank on the top, so that way it gave it more of a cohesive and a finished look. Then I painted this using my ink chalk paint from Waverly. It took a little bit of a while, but it was also 1 a.m. So if you can just spray paint it with black, it'd probably be a lot easier, but it was 1 a.m. So I decided to just paint it with the chalk paint. And this is what it looks like afterwards. And I just put my houses there, and that's it. You just put your little treats inside of those holes, small pieces of candy. I have small kids, so the small squares are going to work perfect for us. And I really love how this turned out. You can decorate it however you want at the top, but I really, really love how I utilized these houses and kept the integrity of them because they are beautiful.
And as we decorate the tree, only you and me, I'll be making.
Next up, we're making this really easy snowflake mini plant stand. So from the Dollar Tree, I have these wood planks, the square wood planks, as well as some wooden snowflakes. I have 2 different styles because I didn't have 4 of each. I only had 3 of each, so I decided to use 2. I painted my wood planks using that wood stain dark walnut again, and I did both sides, wiping it down with a paper towel. Then I painted both of my, or all 4 of my snowflakes using my white chalk paint from Waverly. This is how everything looks once it's dry. Now it's time for me just to assemble everything, and I'm just going to use hot glue. So I just hot glued the snowflakes right onto the center of 4 of the wood planks. The bottom one is going to be on the bottom, obviously, but instead of making this like a planter, I decided to make it a plant stand. So I just flipped it on its, like, on the front. So like I said, I just applied a generous amount of hot glue on all of the seams where the wood planks meet. My head's going to get in the way a few times, but I really needed to make sure I was doing what I needed to do to get this to like come together. But yeah, just use a generous amount of hot glue and pushed it all together, and that's it for this. I flipped it on its on the front side and put a Christmas tree on top that I got from Dollar General, and that's it for this one. Really pretty. I really love how it turned out, and it was super simple, but it adds to your decor. For my last DIY, I'm making this winter wood brown because I feel like it could take you through winter after Christmas. So I have this 12 by 12 wood brown that I got in a pack of 12 from Amazon. It'll be linked in my description box for my Amazon store. And then I'm going to use my dark walnut stain again, as well as my white chalk paint again. But first, what I did is tape off both of the ends of my wood brown and then painted that with my wood stain, my dark walnut wood stain color, again using a foam brush. After that's dry, I removed the tape and then placed them back on the other side so that way I can paint the middle using my white chalk paint. And I did 2 coats of this white chalk paint, letting it dry for about 10 minutes in between, but I did use my heat tool as well. Once it was dry, I removed my tape, and then I cut out the phrase Season's Greetings from my Cricut Maker, and I'm using this film stencil that I got from Expressions Vinyl, and I'm just weeding out my saying and just going to put that over with my transfer tape. So vinyl does not stick to any kind of stain. I learned that the hard way last year and did a little bit more projects with it and realized that I needed, to do something to mitigate that. So what I decided to do is put this down so that it is not straight, like not a straight sign, but like kind of diagonal. I thought that would be really cool. Once I removed my transfer tape to keep my stencil down, I used some Mod Podge to just really go over the entire stencil so to stay in place once I do paint over it with my black or my ink chalk paint color. I did 2 coats of this ink because I was afraid that it wouldn't really show up well over the dark walnut stain, and if you're in a dim setting it won't show up, but if it's pretty bright in an area it'll show up. So you'll be able to see it when I do show you this at the end and I have it styled. After everything is dry, I just remove the rest of my stencil and weed everything out, and then I made this burlap bow, and I have this greenery that I've had for a while. I just tear off some stems, hot glue it right in the middle, as well as my burlap bow right on top, and then I take more greenery and stuff that in there because I wanted it to be just a little bit more full, and I really love how it turned out. To hang this, I'm just going to use another piece of burlap that I got from a spool from Dollar Tree and adhered it to the back with some hot glue and a craft stick, and that's it for this wood round. Super pretty, but as you can see, like I said, when you're in a lit place you could see it over the dark walnut, but if it's in a dim place you might want to think about using a lighter color stain, which I will probably do in the future, but I still really love how it turned out. It's really pretty. Alright dolls, that's all I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you give me a big thumbs up. I really appreciate all of your support and your love and your kindness throughout my YouTube journey. Subscribe if you haven't already. Be blessed, stay safe, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!